Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatir Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya. चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to our Saturday Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Satsang. So we will continue with chapter 3. And this is a very beautiful chapter. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. See the flow of Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj actually he is wanting to know about Krishna. So immediately, first there is glorification of Suta Goswami is first describing all Krishna's important in terms of his incarnations, because the so I should say Shukadeva Goswami, or here actually Shukadeva Goswami has still not come. So Naimisharanya, the sages of Naimisharanya asked 6 questions, amongst which one of the questions was multi-incarnations. What are the multi-incarnations and their functions? So Suta Goswami is doing them by this. And when Shukadeva Goswami starts speaking to Bhagavatam by the end of the first canto, beginning of second canto, there also immediately he glorifies devotion to Krishna as the supreme process. So we can see actually all speakers of Bhagavatam here, actually there are multiple. One is Suta Goswami narrating to sages of Naimisharanya. Shukadev, he is narrating what Shukadeva Goswami narrated to Parikshit Maharaj. And also then Maitreya, subsequently he narrates to Vidura, which he would have heard from his spiritual master Parashara, who would have heard from Kumara's conversation with Sankarshana. So there are multiple Bhagavatam, though it's not that all the Bhagavatam are the same, but the seed verses of Bhagavatam is the same. And depending on the realization of the speaker, and the topics which are discussed can be in, or the based on the questions being asked, the sequence of topics are slightly different. But predominantly, even Parikshit Maharaj's question to Shukadeva Goswami and Vidura's question to Maitreya are on similar lines. First, they wanted to understand about Krishna's creation and his different incarnations. So this chapter actually outlines some of the key incarnations, because we know that the incarnations of Krishna are unlimited. But some of the important incarnations are described here. So we will go through this. Sutavacha Jagre Paurusham Rupam Bhagavan Mahadadibihi Sambhutam Shodashakalam Ado Loka Shishikshaya. Suta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was a creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes. Sutta first starts with creation, because only after creation can these different incarnations, avataras. Avatara means avatarati iti avatara. So those who come down, from the spiritual world, they are called avatara or incarnation. So here first Sutta is discussing creation, and is saying first incarnation is the Purusha incarnation, because without the Purusha incarnation, no creation. So Purusha incarnation and the material ingredients. So he expands himself in Purusha incarnation and manifests all the ingredients for material creation. And then, of course, this creation itself we will discuss in second canto, third canto, lot of details. So here it's saying that it's creation of the 16 principles. And this was for the purpose of creating the material universes. So Prabhupada in the purport, he says, the eternally conditioned souls have the sense of individuality or ahankara, which dictates them sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. They, forgetful of this constitutional position, have strong aspirations to enjoy. So why is this material universe being created? Material universe is being created so that the conditioned souls can enjoy. Now, the question is being answered is, why do they have the propensity to enjoy? Because they are conditioned. Now, eternally conditioned, what does this mean? Nitya Baddha. Eternally conditioned means that it is for a long time, not that eternal as in eternal, not that from beginning of creation, no, for a long time. Such a long time that it is as good as eternity. That shows that once we come to this material world, going back takes quite some time and effort. Eternally conditioned souls have the sense of individuality. So we're all individuals. We have ahankara, which dictates them sense of enjoyment. Now we have false ahankara, husi ahankara, mithya ahankara, because of which we are associating ourselves with this material world, with this material body. And when we associate ourselves with the material body, we think that we are the material body. Then, or we are here for material enjoyment. Then this ahankara dictates sense enjoyment. But the real ahankara, when it gets purified, when this false ahankara gets purified and it becomes real ahankara, which means that one understands their actual individual position, then the same ahankara will dictate service to Krishna. But conditioned state, it will dictate sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. Constitutionally, because there's no question of sense enjoyment. It is all about enjoying or making Krishna's, satisfying Krishna's senses. So there's no question of sense enjoyment. So they can't have it constitutionally, which means that they're breaking the rule to have this. So they are here in the material world. Because they're forgetful of this constitutional position that they're servants of Krishna and there is no question of enjoying themselves, they have strong aspirations to enjoy. See this word, strong aspirations. That's why I noted this. This desire for sense gratification is very strong in conditioned souls. So even after knowing one of the 10 Namaparadas, right? Even after hearing so many things about this whole creation, material world, our real position, and about chanting, we still maintain conception of aham and mama, I and mine. This is because this desire or this propensity to enjoy is very, very strong. And it will decrease to the proportionate to the revival of the consciousness of constitutional position means we become more and more aware that I am not this body, I am spirit soul, I am servant of Krishna. To the extent of that revival of that consciousness, the desire to enjoy sense gratification keeps on decreasing. So this is like one goes up, the other comes down. Some people want to do bhakti and also do bhakti for sense enjoyment. And that is then not bhakti. It's just Sakama bhakti is like actually we can't call it bhakti. Just because they are coming to Krishna, it can be called bhakti, but really it's not bhakti. It is just business, glorified business with Krishna. Mm. So we can't want to progress in bhakti and also have sense enjoyment. That is why Bhagavatam also says, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janaiti Ashu Vairagyam Gnanam Chayadaitukam. We already saw this in the second chapter, that Gnana and Vairagya will automatically develop. Mm. So it's natural that creation is there for these conditioned souls to enjoy, but that is because they are for their forgotten constitutional position. And the more they remember their constitutional position, the propensity to enjoy will keep on decreasing. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world, and side by side. So Prabhupada here is explaining the purpose of this creation. Side by side, they are given the chance to understand the real constitutional position. Those fortunate living entities who catch the truth. So truth is there. We have to catch the truth, which means that we always keep missing the truth. Catch the truth and surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva. After many, many births, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Very, very rare. So after many, many births in the material world, join the eternally liberated souls and thus are allowed to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. Who? Fortunate living entities who catch the truth, who take this truth seriously. That I am not the enjoyer, I am the servant. And then they surrender unto Vasudeva. After many, many births, they become liberated and they're allowed to enter kingdom of Godhead. After this, such fortunate living entities need not come again, will not come again, need not come again. Because we still have minute independence and we can still misuse it. But those who cannot catch the constitutional truth are again merged into the Mahatattva at the time of annihilation of the material creation. So they'll again merge into Mahatattva, they'll go into the body of Mahavishnu, again they'll come back and their process continues. Mahatattva contains all the ingredients of material manifestation, including the conditioned souls. Primarily, this Mahatattva is divided into 16 parts, namely 5 gross material elements, 11 working instruments or senses. So 11, which is 5 knowledge acquiring, 5 working senses, and mind, which is 11, plus 5 gross elements. So these 16 are this is the Mahatattva. It is like the cloud in the clear sky. Prabhupada is explaining what is this Mahatattva. It is like the cloud in the clear sky. In the spiritual sky, the effulgence of Brahman is spread all around, and the whole system is dazzling in spiritual light. The Mahatattva is assembled in some corner of the vast, unlimited spiritual sky, and the part which is thus covered by Mahatattva is called the material sky. This part of the spiritual sky called the Mahatattva is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky, and within this Mahatattva there are innumerable universes. So Mahatattva is like a cloud. So there is spiritual sky and then there is Lord's Brahma Jyoti. So the spiritual sky is dazzling with Brahma Jyoti, with the spiritual light. Then this Mahatattva is formed in some insignificant portion of this material universe, of this whole Lord's creation. This Mahatattva gets formed, manifests, and then from this Mahatattva, which is called material sky, so the Brahma Jyoti is prevented from coming in. So which is why this is Andhakara, this is darkness of ignorance, this material universes, material world. So then in the Mahatattva, from Mahatattva, there are innumerable universes which come out. So this Mahatattva is the ingredient. Pradhana is the material ingredients in inactive form. Dormant form is called Pradhana. When it becomes active, it is called Mahatattva. And the whole creation happens from this Mahatattva, and it is said here that Mahatattva is divided into 16 parts. Like I said, lot more details of creation we will read in second and third canto. We know about the three Purusha incarnations: Mahavishnu, Karanodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakashaya. So Sutta Goswami first mentioned the Purusha incarnations for the creation. Then Yasyambhasi Shayanasya Yoga Nidram Vitanvatah Nabi Hridam Bujadasit Brahma Vishvasrujampatihi. A part of the Purusha lies down
Hare Krishna,
within.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I have a question from the earlier purport. So Prabhupada uses two terms, right? Eternally conditioned and eternally liberated, right? So is there a difference in the constitution of these two souls, two type of souls? Because eternally conditioned means that once the conditioned soul is given the chance to get in touch of the absolute truth, they leave that and they get a chance to enter and join liberated souls in the spiritual world. But technically, are we saying that there is always a chance that they can again, because there is a chance that they can get conditioned again? And it's also set of eternally liberated means they can never get conditioned, right? The associates of So what is the basic difference? Because this has to be a property of the soul, right?
Misuse of the free will.
Misuse of the free will.
Yeah. So there's no constitutionally, there's no difference between the souls, because all souls are part and parcel of Krishna, and they have the same constitution as like drop of water compared to the whole ocean. So there's no difference in the constitution of the soul. Soul is the same. It's a spiritual spark, part and parcel of Krishna. But the soul has minute independence. And this independence can be misused. So those who misuse this independence, they come down to this material world. And because they come down and they've been here for a long time, they're called eternally conditioned. The eternally liberated are those who have not been conditioned for a long time. Now, again, it doesn't mean that they will not be conditioned. A possibility of jiva getting conditioned is always there. So it's just a matter from long time immemorial till now. They're conditioned. Long time immemorial till now, they are liberated. But a liberated soul, because once they go back to the spiritual soul, they'll be called liberated. But they have the propensity to fall down. Again, no, I have not read anywhere that Nitya Mukta, whether they will not fall down at all or not, because whether there will be a separate categorization or will they be called differently, as in this is Nitya Baddha, this is Baddha, or sorry, this is Nitya Mukta and this is Mukta. No, once they go into the spiritual world, there is no differentiation between this is a conditioned soul, fallen and come back, and this is an eternally liberated soul. We can see that, we can search if there is any such distinction. But as far as I remember, Prabhupada's purpose, I have not seen anywhere this distinction between Mukta and Nitya Mukta. But the constitutionally, the difference, there's no difference, just that the misuse of free will.
Okay, bro. Yeah.
Okay. Verse 2. Part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, we should say Brahma, because there's a Dirgha. Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. We understand this again, these details we will go into second and third canto. There are two different descriptions which are given of Brahma and creation. One in the Brahmanda Purana, which seems like one kalpa, one creation, one instance of creation. And then between Maitreya and Vidura, there is another instance of creation. which seems to be different from the one which Shukadev Goswami tells Parikshit. So, and we should understand this. Everything that is there in Bhagavatam is all perfect, is all correct. And just that there are so many ways, so many variegatedness, so much variegatedness in creation that can be differences, right? Because on one place it says Brahma did penance for 1,000 celestial years. In the other creation it says Brahma did for 100 celestial years. Then Lord appeared. Then again he did for 100 celestial years. So there are some differences. Anyway, so but Brahma lotus flower is actually the material world, as in the material world manifests as a lotus flower, and all the ingredients, all the universes in seed form will be there in the stem of the lotus. So these details we will read in the second, third canto. And the stem of the lotus flower is also somewhat encompasses or forms the universal form, Virat Rupa also. I mean, though these things we will read, let's not get into too much details now because it might be confusing. Okay. Okay, Karana Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the collective Paramatma. See, now there is Karanodakashaya, Garbhodakashaya, Kshirodakashaya. Now, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the collective Paramatma, which means he is present in every jiva, but he is the only Paramatma. Not that Paramatma is multiple Paramatmas are there. So, he is the collective Paramatma, meaning he is the Paramatma in all jivas. And he is called Hari. And from him, all incarnations within this universe are expanded. Meaning they come through the body of Hari. Now, it's still not clear what this coming through means. I've not been able to get any clear explanation about this, because these avatars always exist in the spiritual world. But when they have to enter the material world, they say it comes through. So one of the ways of saying this is like thinking about this, which is a speculation. I'm just warning, is that Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, he knows, because he's Vishnu, he's the Palaka. So he knows what time which avatara is required. So that way, he will request a particular incarnation to appear, like that you can think of. I have not heard any or read anything authentic about why it is said that all incarnations happen through Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. The Mahavishnu lies down some part of the spiritual sky by his own free will. And thus he lies on the ocean of Karana Jala, from where he glances over his material nature, Prakriti, and the Mahat Tattva is at once created. Actually, he glances over Prakriti, glances at Prakriti, and then the Pradhana is activated, because when he glances, again, I'm getting into little details, but let's not, we'll go into a lot more details later. So when he sees, his sight is actually called Shiva. His sight is Shiva, Lord Shiva, because he sees material universe. No, material universe is his external energy is behind her, and she's his sister in that sense, Durga. So Shiva is the husband. So Vishnu doesn't touch material Prakriti. As his vision or sight becomes Lord Shiva, who then impregnates Durga or Prakriti to produce Jiva, so mother and father. um, um, Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, the material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. Okay. Okay, so this we will not get into too much of details now. We'll discuss that later. Like I said, there are different variants. And when we discuss second and third canto, we can clearly understand in context saying that what is being said. But we generally understand Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the collective Paramatma, which means he's one Paramatma, but he's present in all jivas and all atoms. And Garbhodakashaya Vishnu creates the universal form, or he is the universal form. We can say like that. So, so these details we'll discuss later. Okay, the first two verses about Purusha. Okay, this is also third also is Yasyavayava samsthanai kalpito loka vistarah tad vai bhagavato rupam vishuddham sattvam It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha. This is what I said. This is Garbhodakashai Purusha. But he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence, power, excellence. So all Garbhodakashai, Kshirodakashai, Karanodakashai, all of them are spiritual. They have nothing to do with material ingredients. They don't come in touch with material ingredients. That is why for coming in touch with material ingredients is Shiva and Durga, who are Shakti of Lord. Durga is a Shakti. Shiva is a form that the Lord takes for this creation. So Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, they are non-different from Supreme Lord. So they are called Gunavataras. The Lord himself appears as Brahma, empowered Jiva, appears as Shiva, who is actually Vishnu Tattva, but taking on the role of being in touch with Prakriti. And finally, Vishnu, who is Vishnu himself. But none of them, actually, Vishnu doesn't touch material Prakriti at all. Brahma is taking care of mode of passion, and it is said that sometimes he is affected. And Shiva also is in touch of, he's taking care of mode of ignorance. Sometimes he's affected. Like in the Brahman, the Mohini Rupa, when Lord Shiva is bewildered. But these are all pastimes of the Lord. So we should not think that Shiva is in mode of ignorance or Brahma is in mode of passion. They sometimes take up that quality. But actually Supreme Lord only. Um, yeah, so this will not go into much details. He doesn't come in touch with this material ingredients. Pasyantyato rupamava adaprachakshusha sahasrapadorubujananadbhutam sahasramurdha shravanakshi nasikam sahasramaulyam varakundalolasat. The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. Now, Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada says that the universal form is material, temporary. But actually, there are two aspects of universal form. There is one which is actually a transcendental form, universal form of the Supreme Lord, which is not visible. The universal form which is normally described like in Bhagavad Gita, etc., is a imagination by sages. So that is why it is called temporary and material. But the universal form is also a form of the Supreme Lord. So it's a transcendental form, and it has thousands of legs, eyes, arms, etc. Now this universal form is called Sahasra Purusha, Maha. I can't remember the exact name. This comes in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So he resides in Satyaloka with Brahma, accepting all their yagnas and all their offerings. Sahasra Purusha, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. I don't know what, I can't remember exactly what he's called. So he is a transcendental form. That's not a material form. But some of these topics are very, very complex. So there is a spiritual form, but because that spiritual form cannot be seen, sages in the material world, they imagine imagine a form which is a universal form that is temporary and material. But really there is a something like a Virat Rupa form which is transcendent, which is actually none other than Garbhodakashai Vishnu. Okay, some technical stuff. It's just telling for information those who are interested. एतन्नानावताराणां निधानं बीजमव्ययं यस्यां शांशेन सृज्यन्ते देवतिर्यन्नरादयः. This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created. So Purusha, so there are so many avatars. Prabhupada in the purport is talking about Purusha avatars, then Leela Avataras. So Leela Avataras are the 10 main Leela Avataras, of which actually Krishna is not one of them. Balarama is. Then there are Guna Avataras. Like I said, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Then there are Manvantara Avataras. So during every Manu, in every day of Brahma, 14 Manus, 14 Manvantaras. So there is Manu himself, who is actually considered as the incarnation of Krishna. Then there is a incarnation also who is supports Manu or helps Manu, assists Manu. So all these, actually everything responsible for this creation is an incarnation of the Lord. Just that some are empowered, some are Vishnu Tattva. So there are, but yeah, so they're all called Manvantara Avataras. Then there are Yuga Avataras in each Yuga, white, red, then black and golden. Also sometimes it is green, Rama. Okay. Lord Shiva is the plenary portion of the Lord, but because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, is not exactly the same transcendental position. Kshira Yati Yata Brahma Samhita says, like milk, curds and milk. And then there are empowered incarnations. Apart from these, then there are empowered incarnations, which is called Shaktya Vesha. So here also there are two types. They are directly as well as indirectly empowered. And they're directly empowered, they're called incarnations. Like directly empowered incarnations are Kumara, Narada, Prutu, Shesha, Ananta. They're all directly empowered. And then there are indirectly empowered, which are called Vibhutis, which we hear in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter in Bhagavad Gita. So this is all Shaktya Vesha. Jiva, but directly empowered and indirectly empowered. Directly empowered, Kumara, Narada, Prutu, Sheshananta, etc. And indirectly empowered are all the Vibhuti, all the opulences of Krishna in the material world. They are called empowered Shaktyavesha avatars. Okay. There's a long purport. Prabhupada is talking about all the different avatars that I spoke about. स एव प्रथमं देव कौमारं सर्गमाश्रितः चचारा दुश्चरं ब्रह्मा ब्रह्मचर्यम् अखण्डितं. Now he starts describing the different avatars. So far Purusha avatara mostly, now all other Leela avatars. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. So Prabhupada in the purport describes Kumara. So this is called Kumara, Kaumara creation. So different creations have different names. So these Kumaras appeared in the Kaumara creation of the material world and to teach us the process of Brahman realization. So they're Gnanis. We know this in Bhagavatam. Then they are Gnanis, but then because of the Tulasi, smell of the Tulasi, they become devotees. When Jaya Vijay episode happens. So they're Gnanis. They underwent severe type of disciplinary action as bachelors because Brahmanas, Brahmagyana, that is what Kumaras came. These Kumaras are empowered incarnations, as we already read. And before executing the severe type of disciplinary actions, all of them became qualified Brahmanas. So they're all Brahmanas, Brahmagyana. And in one of the, when they appear, actually the Veda Jnana would have got lost. And they come and they give the Jnana of the Vedas even to Brahma. So that is why these Kumaras are the biggest Gyanis. They have complete understanding of Vedas. That is why eventually they become Bhaktas. So it's not that Jnani means he only remains Nirakar. They start with Nirakar, but eventually they come to Sakar, perfected ones. Imperfected ones, they'll just become one in Brahmajyoti and then again fall back, come back to this material world and Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. So this is a Kumara incarnation. द्वितीयां तु भवायास्य रसातलगतां महीम् उद्धरिष्यन्नुपादत्त यज्ञेश सौकरं वपुः. The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of Boar, second incarnation, and for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. So Varaha avatar, he is called as the Yagna Purusha, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. So we will read this when we discuss the Varaha avatar. So there's all these sages, they offer glorification and they just call him all aspects of his body as different aspects of yagna, fire sacrifice. So here, elsewhere, it is mentioned because these avatars are again Brahma. Again, when Narada and Brahma, there's conversation in the second canto. When Brahma again describes all these incarnations. And then there are some more details there. So actually, so what happens? The Earth falls out of her orbit. Why? Because Hiranyaksha is gold chase. Gold chase. He was on a gold chase. So he was going all over the earth digging to extract gold. So because of that, actually, Mother Earth lost her balance, gravitational. So she fell off her orbit and she fell into the Garbhodaka, which is called Pluto's region of filthy matter, because that is the extreme end of the universe. Filthy matter. So who picks up stuff from filthy matter? Boar. So Lord takes the form of a boar. So this we can understand. The more Ugra karma happens, the more disturbances will happen on Earth, and there's also a chance that the Earth can slip out of her orbit. And this oil extraction is one such Ugra karma which is happening currently, like that gold rush. And that was because of one Hiranyaksha. Now there are so many Hiranyakshas. So it's just mercy of the Lord that the earth is still in her place. तृतीयं ऋषिसर्गं वै देवर्षित्वमुपेत्य सः तन्त्रं सात्वतम् आचष्ट नैष्कर्म्यं कर्मणां यतः. In the millennium of the rishis, the personality of God had accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devarshi Narada, who is a great sage among the demigods. He's a Swarga Rishi, he's a Avatara, Devarshi, Deva Rishi. He collected expositions of the Vedas which deal with devotional service and which inspire non-fruitive action. So this is Pancharatrika. Pancha, Narada Pancharatra. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, first he glorifies Narada. He says, all great devotees of the world, of the Lord, all over the universe and in different planets and species of life are his disciples. All great devotees. So you can see so many in Bhagavatam, literally. So all of them are disciples of Narada. Narada initiates and the sons. And of course, we know Dhruva, Prahlada, Daksha's sons. Then also Chitraketu, no, Chitraketu, the Angira and Narada come in, and then that Brigari, who's that hunter. So many. Narada is present everywhere, wherever, because he is actually one of the sons of Brahma. See, Narada's position is very unique. Brahma is a jiva, but Narada is not a. Brahma is a conditioned soul, as in he is like part of this universe. He dies, right? But Narada doesn't have death. But Narada takes for birth from Brahma, and he is a spiritual body. That is why he can go anywhere in the universes, material and spiritual. So here, the Srila Vyasadeva Prabhupada saying the compiler of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is also one of his disciples, Narada's disciples. Narada is the author of Narada Pancharatra, which is the exposition of the Vedas, particularly for the devotional service of the Lord. This Narada Pancharatra trains the karmis or fruity workers to achieve liberation from bondage of fruity work. So what Narada Pancharatra is for karmis, fruity workers. What does it teach? It teaches how to achieve liberation from the bondage of fruity work, from the bondage of karma. So Prabhupada writes an elaborate purport here because this is very, very relevant for most 99% of the people in this material world because they are karmis. The conditioned souls are mostly attracted by fruity work because they want to enjoy life by the sweat of their brows. And they want to enjoy life by their sweat, by their effort. They want to enjoy life. So Prabhupada is saying the conditioned souls are mostly attracted by fruity work. So before we come into Krishna consciousness, 24 hours we are engaged in some kind of material work. And vritti, mostly people are work for 10 hours, 12 hours. And even when they come home, their consciousness is work, earn money, That's all the consciousness. Of course, some fortunate women who are not working get an opportunity to do bhakti. But most of the working people struggle with this mood to earn. And here, Prabhupada is saying they want to enjoy life by their own sweat. Prabhupada, in one lecture, he says that devotees is life of like ajagara vritti. Ajagara vritti means ajagara means he is like lying in one place and food, everything comes to him. Devotees are like this. We don't want to work for our own, livelihood. We work for Krishna. The whole universe is full of fruity workers in all species of life, not just in human species. The fruity works include all kinds of economic development plans. But the law of nature provides that every action has its resultant reaction, and the performer of the work is bound up by such reactions, good or bad. The reaction of good work is comparative material prosperity, whereas the reaction of bad work is comparative material distress. And nothing is absolute, it is all comparative. But material conditions, either in so-called happiness or in so-called distress, are all meant ultimately for distress only, because they bind us. Foolish materialists have no information of how to obtain eternal happiness in the unconditioned state. Sri Narada informs these foolish fruity workers how to realize the reality of happiness. He gives direction to the deceased men of the world, how one's present engagement can lead one to the path of spiritual emancipation. So how by the process of karma, how can we achieve liberation? The physician directs the patient to take treated milk in the form of curd for his suffering from indigestion due to his taking another milk preparation. So the cause of the disease and the remedy of the disease may be the same. So here, the cause of the disease is karma. The remedy of the disease is also karma. That's what Prabhupada is saying. But it must be treated by an expert physician like Narada. The Bhagavad Gita also gives the same solution of what? What is the solution? Of serving the Lord by the fruit of one's labor. So this is Narada Pancharatra. This will lead one to the path of Naishkarmya or liberation. So when we earn and use the fruits for Lord's service, then that is the path for liberation. So that becomes Karma Yoga. So Narada Pancharatra teaches people how from karma one can do karma yoga and finally come to bhakti. And this is what is required for everybody in Kali Yuga. Finally, we keep doing karma for quite some time. What is the difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga? Anybody wants to try? What are devotees doing? Are devotees doing karma yoga or bhakti yoga? Any thoughts?
Prabhuji, karma yoga is doing spiritual activities and accepting the result of it.
During spiritual activities and accepting the result of it.
Spiritual activity means yajna, some kind of yajna, some kind of worship.
No, that is karma kanda. Karma kanda. I'm asking about karma yoga.
Karma yoga, the devotees indulge in karma yoga. So by doing karma yoga, it will lead them to bhakti yoga.
So then, who are bhakti yogis?
Bhakti yogis are those who have renounced everything and there is no attachment and there is no fruitive action that they want, and most of their karmas are dissolved.
Okay, so I'll just give a very clear definition. Karma yoga means connection with Lord. So bhakti yoga is also having connection with Lord. Karma yoga is also having connection with Lord. Meaning it is being done for the pleasure of the Lord. But the difference is karma yogis still have propensity to do karma. Means that they can't give up their material work. So they still want to do karma. They will do karma, but they will use the results for Krishna service. Now, if they do karma, but they're using it for their own service, then it is not called karma yoga. So when we use the word yoga, which means that they are in connection with the Lord, but the difference being they have propensity to work. Bhakti yogis don't have any propensity to do any kind of material work. They just engage in direct devotional service. Karma yogis also, they do work, they use the results in Lord service. So the difference is one has a propensity to do work, other doesn't have propensity to do material work. He just wants to directly serve Krishna. That is the difference between karma yogi and bhakti yogi. So most people are karma yogis, and that is why it is, the varnashrama system is very, very important, because this karma, propensity to do karma, has to end. And that is end of grihastha ashram. One has to enter vanaprastha. When a karma yogi enters vanaprastha, automatically becomes bhakti yoga, because then he will not have any material duties that he is doing. Both the yogis have to be detached from work. Both the yogis are detached from material things. But it just has one has a propensity. He's not able to give up that propensity to do work. And the other doesn't have that propensity to do material work. The only difference. Yeah. Propensity or inclination.
So Prabhuji, Bhakti Yoga means then only doing the Lord service, nothing else.
Yeah, so in this, then there are multiple gradations, like karma mishra bhakti. There is karma mishra bhakti. So when we are doing karma and bhakti, karma yoga can also be done without bhakti. But we generally talk about karma mishra bhakti. So what ISKCON devotees do is karma mishra bhakti, which means that there is karma also, and then there is bhakti also. Karma yoga can be without bhakti. It can be directly just using results in to do charity, something, right, in connection with the Lord, but not necessarily engaging in bhakti. So when the karma yogis engage in bhakti also, then they're called karma mishra bhaktas. And then there is gnana mishra bhaktas. And the karma mishra bhaktas eventually has to give up that karma mishra and only become bhaktas. That okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. Then in Bhakti Yoga, then there is no karma.
No, there's no karma. Bhakti yoga is like one of my teachers, Vidwan Gaurang Prabhu. I consider him teacher. I've learned a lot of things from him. So he uses this beautiful chemical formula. So he says, like we know, no, like H2O, like 2 molecules of hydrogen, like that. He says bhakti is B3. B3 means, so there are 3 molecules, all of them are bhakti. And then there is karma mishra bhakti, where initially it will be K2B, meaning to lot of karma. 2 molecules of karma, 1 molecule of bhakti. Then there is KB2, 1 molecule of karma, 2 molecules of bhakti. Then it becomes B3, which means K0 it becomes. 0 molecules of karma and 3 molecules of bhakti, like that. So we come into bhakti, but we are also engaged in karma mishra, then bhakti mishra karma. So this is very all. I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Baladev Vidyabhushan, one of them, they use all these terminologies. Bhagavad Gita commentary, if you read their commentary, you will understand all this. So there is karma mishra bhakti, then there is bhakti mishra karma. So K2B, meaning more karma, is karma mishra bhakti. Bhakti mishra karma is KB2. Bhakti is predominant, but there is little karma. And then there is Kevala bhakti, B3. So when we say bhakti, we ideally, when Prabhupada says bhakti, when we say pure devotees, these are Kevala bhaktas, meaning they don't engage in material work. And the path from karma, so first we have vikarma, then we have karma, then we have nishkama karma, then we have karma yoga, then we can do karma mishra bhakti, bhakti mishra karma, then kevala bhakti. Is that okay?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Any doubts on this? Because anyway, for whatever reason we discussed this, this is important. I learned this as part of my Bhakti Shastri. So it's very clear, actually. It makes it very, very clear where we stand. Turye dharma kala sarge nara narayana vrishi bhutvatmopasamopetam akaro dushcharam tapaha. In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became Nara and Narayana, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. Thus he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses. So, yeah, so this one again, Nara Narayana. So Naranam Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva Narottamam. So they are still present today in Badri Narayan, Badri Kashram. So Uddhava, we'll hear this in third canto. Uddhava, Krishna asks Uddhava to go to Badri Kashram. Because when all the Yadu, the rest of the Yadu dynasty, finishes their pastime and actually they kind of, kill each other with those iron canes. Krishna didn't want Uddhava to come there to go to Prabhasa, where they'll all die or they'll wind down their pastime. So he wants him to go to Badrikashram. But Uddhava actually, and there's a reason given because Uddhava had so much separation from Krishna, he could not tolerate it. So to reduce that pain, Krishna asks him to go to Badrikashram and give him the knowledge that he shares with Uddhava when Uddhava meets Krishna on the banks of Saraswati. And he tells him, go and discuss these things with Naranarayana. Then your separation, your pain of separation will reduce. So the Naranarayana rishis are still there. Of course, then we also know, which we'll discuss again later, is how Naranarayana rishis produce all these beautiful apsaras. Krishna, Indra comes. Indra sends all apsaras to distract them because they're doing severe penances. Wherever there are severe penances, Indra wants to disturb them because otherwise he thinks that his position will be taken away. So then he sends all these Kamadeva and all these apsaras, celestial women. And then Narayana Rishi, from his own body, he produces so many beautiful then apsaras. And he gives one of them as a gift. You take whomever you want and take her to the celestial, heavenly planets. So like this. So, but severe penances to control the senses. So it shows how by the process of bhakti only we can control senses, not by any other means. So we know Vishwamitra, we know who else? What other examples of these yogis who fail sense control? Vishwamitra is famous, and Durvasa also, because he becomes angry. So like this, I mean, all these your Rishi Munis and all, they might be doing a lot of tapasya, austerity. Without bhakti, none of that tapasya, austerity will last. Okay, I think maybe one more verse we can complete. Panchamakapilo nama siddesha kala viplutam provacha suraye sankyam tattvagrama vinirnayam. The fifth incarnation, named Lord Kapila, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana, for in course of time this knowledge had been lost. So Prabhupada says Sankhya philosophy, generally called metaphysics by the European scholars. The etymological meaning of Sankhya is that which explains very lucidly by analysis of material elements. Of course, in this Sankhya, there is atheistic Sankhya and there is theistic Sankhya. So Lord Kapila, who is incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he gave theistic Sankhya. Then there is another Kapila who gave atheistic Sankhya. Atheistic Sankhya means they also believe in all this lucid analysis of material elements, but they just don't believe that there's a Supreme Lord. So it means the elements themselves are powerful. They themselves will do all this. All this creation happens by these material elements. So they are also metaphysicists without believing in the presence of the Supreme Lord, without believing that without the presence of Supreme Lord, these material elements can't do anything. That they don't believe. They believe that they are independently empowered to do these things. And so they are atheistic. Okay, I think we'll stop here. If anybody has any questions, we can discuss. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Samveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.